Hey Hardtail fans, today we're taking a first look at the Binary Maniac 1.5. So the Binary Maniac is my signature bike, the first signature hardtail I ever have. It's still in production and it's still my all-time favorite hardtail that I've ever ridden. It better be because I designed it. It's made out of titanium. It is sold through Binary Bicycles, which has the best customer service you will ever find anywhere. It's a mom and pop shop, a husband and wife run it. It's just the two of them and they're fantastic people. And the personal interaction and customer service is amazing through them. But not just that, they really know their stuff and they've built a really special bike with the Binary Maniac. Well, the new 1.5 version came out. There's a whole bunch of tiny little tweaks. And that's what I love about a company like Binary and why they're wonderful to work with, is because we obsess about little things like cable guide placement, or could we get that chainstay 2 millimeters wider to fit a bigger tire? And they think the same way. And so this is not a total revamp of the old Binary Maniac, but there are a lot of cool little things that they put into this 1.5 that we're gonna talk about today. Oh man, those dropouts are beautiful. These use 9 millimeter dropouts. They're the same as Paragon. So you can get this UDH compatible if you wish. You can use any Paragon style dropout in it that's 9 millimeter. I kind of want to work with someone to machine a long dropout so you could get a long, super long chainstay on this. That's one thing I love about sliding dropouts is you can experiment and you have options in the future. So the Binary Maniac is a bike that does a whole bunch of little things right that a lot of other people skip over. And there's nobody quite doing this right now. And that's why I designed this. I reviewed over 100 modern hardtails and I'm just like, man, why is nobody doing big tire clearance? There's no reason not to. And then I'm like, why is everybody putting a bend in the seat tube? Couldn't we land that ahead of the bottom bracket and just get a totally straight seat tube and be able to use the dropper all the way in? And then I started thinking, why don't we have water bottle bosses on the seat tube that don't protrude into the seat tube? That way I can get full dropper all the way down to here and get 2 water bottles in here. And these sound like simple things, but when I've talked to other companies, they're like, no, we're not interested in that. That's too hard. Basically, a lot of companies were saying good enough is good enough. And the Binary Maniac is proof that good enough is not good enough. And we've done a lot of tiny little things that add up to make for a very special bike. There's a couple cool things going on. One of them, the dropper cable routing is pre-routed, which is fantastic. You can see this little plastic here. You just hook your cable to it and pull it through. That was a tough thing we had before, was getting it through here. But the dropper is so cool. It comes in up here, and this is the only internal port on the whole bike. This makes for an excellent bike packing bike. It makes for an excellent winter bike, because as long as you keep water out of here, you will never get water anywhere else in your frame. Now it's titanium, so it's not like it's gonna rust even if it does get water in it, but it's just one of those little things that makes a big difference. And I also wanted the cable routing completely internal because a lot of times the dropper posts have like a 20 millimeter actuator thing at the bottom of them. So the seat tube might actually give you room for a longer one, but the dropper takes up some of that. By running it all the way to the bottom, you can get an extra 20 or 30 mil of dropper in there. Dropper insertion was a huge, huge factor to this bike. Another thing I really wanted on the V1, and we got, and it's even better on this, is clearance for a 29 by 3.0. On the V1, it was a little bit tight in certain chainstay positions. And so Binary's reworked this yoke to give it a little bit more clearance throughout the whole range of the sliding dropouts. That's awesome. That's one small thing they didn't have to do. That was a lot of work redesigning this yoke. New graphics here, those look fantastic. So you can see we just used the yoke straight to the BB shell, and the BB shell is part of the yoke. That helps us get super short chainstays. I like a dirt jumpy skate park feel on my 29s, and this allows us to slide that all the way forward. But here they've reduced this on the V1. There was a little bit of a bump that came out there, and it's probably only 2 or 3 millimeters on each side, but that's significant. Now this bike confuses a lot of people because they've never seen a bike that does this. Yes, it can fit 29 plus, but I wouldn't consider it a 29 plus bike. What does that mean? I consider this a 29er that happens to fit big tires than a 29 plus specific bike. So don't get confused and think, oh, this is only for people with big 29 by 3.0 wheels. No, this is meant for any 29er. It just has room to go bigger if you want to. There's no downside to that. Even if you're never going to run 2.8s, it doesn't hurt you. It reacts just like if this were narrower. It's no disadvantage there. So consider it a 29er that also fits 29 plus. I also care a lot about compliance. So we made this thing super compliant. Titanium flexes really well and retains its strength, which is really, really cool. So it's got a nice soft rear end. Another cool thing they did on the 1.5 is this seat stay bridge. They disconnected it from the seat tube so it can float a little bit more to get a little more flex out of the rear end. So this is what other 29 by 3.0s can't do. Look at this. This is amazing how tucked this is. This is a 415 mil chainstay. Super short, even if this were a regular 29er, but by being able to fit the 3.0s on there, I don't know anyone else that can do this, and it's super cool to have that coupled with the aggressive geometry. Now you can also bump it out to 430 on the smaller sizes. On the bigger sizes, the rear chainstays get longer to be proportionate so that you feel the same balance, weight balance, and all of that that I feel when I'm on a medium. So whether you're an XXL or you're a small, you're gonna get the same ride feel because that will grow with the other measurements as well. This part of your bike is the dropout, and these ones slide to change your wheel position however you want. And the rear wheel can slide in and out 15 millimeters. That is great for single speeding if you want to tension it. It's great for playing with different chainstay lengths, dialing in that weight balance that you want, and just giving you options. It's a tiny, tiny bit heavier than no sliding dropouts, but it was worth that for the versatility for me, especially because I run this single speed a lot. And since these completely unbolt, this is future-proof. So if the industry ever changes dropout standards or size, we can just bolt on the new dropouts to make that work. So this is the 29 by 3.0. So again, we were going for dirt jumper with big tires vibe on this. On the V1, the 29 by 3.0s like this were tight, had a couple millimeters clearance. This has more. Well done, Binary. Oh man, this has more clearance, which is awesome. Now 29 by 3.0 has been overlooked in the industry, sadly. I think 27.5 by 3.0 was super fun too. I don't think they ever got a fair chance because there weren't any great tires right off the bat, and the tire options are getting smaller and smaller, which really saddens me. This is super fun. It's 30.5 inches tall, so it's the difference between 27.5 and 29. If you like that faster rollover, the less bumpy, going from 29 by 2.2 to a 29 by 3.0 like this ups that even more. It just rolls over things a little bit better. And with the big tire, you can really air it down, giving you a type of suspension, not like a full suspension, but it gives you some suspension on the rear to take the sting out and to track the ground a little bit better. But we have really, really good clearance up here. I'm seeing 5 mil clearance on each side. It doesn't look like it on camera because you don't realize just how big a 29 by 3.0 is. This is so hard to show, but down here, we've got a good 7 mil clearance with these massive tires. These are Bontrager XR2s, which I love. You don't need huge knobbies when you've got that many knobbies on the ground, so you can go with a faster rolling tire. And this is on a 40i rim. I alternate between a 40i rim and a 45i rim. Even 45i rims are getting hard to find, but that's my setup right here. Now what's cool is you maintain this clearance all the way back. We couldn't quite do this on the version 1. Nobody had done this before. In fact, a few of the builders that we went to, we told them what we wanted to do. We designed it and we're like, it fits in CAD. And they're like, no, we're not willing to do that. It's not gonna work. Oh, same clearance all the way around. That's amazing, even all the way back. Well done, Binary. That is no small thing. Very, very few companies can do this. And you have to do interesting things like shift that seat tube forward and make the BB shell the yoke as well. And Binary's done it. Now, the old one couldn't fit 27.5 by 3.0 because of the design of the chainstays. I don't know if this one's gonna fit. We're gonna test it real quick. I've always been curious how this would ride as a plus mullet. This is a 27.5 by 3.0. They don't even make these tires anymore. Oh, this would be really cool if it fit. Now, if you're an XC racer or you're just railing corners and you just attack the trail and charge it, I don't think Plus tires are going to give you the performance that you get out of a 29 by 2.4. But if you like kind of a floaty feel and massive traction, and it doesn't self-steer like a fat bike, and it's not quite as pillowy as a fat bike, but if you goof around more or you want a little bit smoother ride, Plus is so much fun. Holy cow. Okay, let's see. This might be passable. Okay, we got the dropouts all the way back, which is the hardest place to go with this. I've got 3 mil clearance on this side and 5 mil on this side. That's close enough for me to run it, but not quite close enough for me to recommend it. But let's slide it forward where the dropouts get wider. So this is the 27.5 by 3.0. Dropout slid all the way back. Looks kind of crazy. Look at that clearance down in there. It looks like nothing because this is so big, but we've got clearance on both sides. There's clearance, but if you flex it a lot, and we designed the rear end to be compliant and flexible, if you rail berms or hit big jumps or you compress hard in the corners, the tire will buzz the frame. You're not gonna wreck it, but you'll feel it. All right, all the way forward. Oh, that fits all day long with a centimeter of clearance on each side. Woo! All right, I'm gonna be experimenting with it. That is super, super exciting to play with this in mullet form. Now, mullet is gonna lower the bottom bracket. It's already fairly low. It's gonna slacken the head out, and the head's already slack, but this is gonna be really fun. My goodness, I've got some ideas turning in my head right now. Awesome, way to go, Binary. That's one of those small things. Just changing this, redesigning that was not easy, but it made it possible to do crazy things like this. Now, it's gonna fit normal 27.5 by 2.6 all day long with tons of clearance. It'll fit 29 by 2.6 all day long with tons of clearance. If it's fitting this 3.0, both 3.0s with significant clearance, it's definitely gonna fit the smaller one. So feel free to run this small. Feel free to run like 700C wheels and tires on this and turn it into a mini gravel shredder. It'll do it, but it'll also do the big ones here. So think of this more as an experimental bike that you can do tons of different things on. I think it rides best as a 29 by 2.4 or a 29 by 3.0. Those are kind of my two favorite setups to run this, but it's great as a 29 by 2.6 as well. And 29 by 3.0 is quite different from 29 by 2.6. It's noticeably taller. You can run way lower pressure. When you've got a 3.0 and you run it at 12 PSI, it feels like 23 PSI in a 2.4. Just the bigger volume just makes it feel like it's tougher. And you're seeing right now companies going out and trying all sorts of different things with their tire compounds to get them to be softer and conform to the trail a little bit more. I think we just need to go a little bit bigger, run a little bit lower pressure, and we'll get that same feeling here. So that's how I like to solve it, is with more volume and lower pressure. Wow, way to go, Binary. Okay, let's review some of the other changes that they've made with the 1.5. So these 1.5s have actually been out for a long time. I just haven't had one in the shop yet till now. They came out January 2024, and the way you can tell a 1.0 from a 2.0 is the engraving on the chainstay there. They moved the chain line from a 52 millimeter to a 55 millimeter. Those that are going to be running transmission's meant for a 55 mil. So it's offset a little bit to line up your chain a little bit more, so it's not running sideways. Another thing they've done that I'm so thrilled is they tucked these cable guides a little more underneath the tube so they don't stick out on the sides quite as much. Like I said, that's a little thing that is a big pain for a lot of manufacturers to change. So I'm really proud that Binary was willing to do that. This is why I chose Binary. Not only do they have beautiful flawless welds and gorgeous high quality builds and really affordable price, really affordable titanium, they're willing to push it that extra little bit to make it super special. They're like me, they're always striving for a better mousetrap. They also tweaked the rear brake hose guides. This one back here has been repositioned to fit more brakes without any tight curves. I really like that. Running clampers, this is going to line up extremely well. On the 1.5, the dropout tolerances are even tighter than before to aid in getting this thing aligned perfectly and to fit with these 9mm Paragon style dropouts. So you can buy any dropout Paragon makes, including the UDH one, and pop it on here and away you go. Like we talked about, them smoothing out this joint here to get that extra little bit of clearance. That's no small thing. You've got a crank here, you've got a chain ring here, and you've got a tire here, and they're all fighting for the same exact space right there. They all want to be right here. And this thing is dialed to the millimeter to give everything the clearance it needs and still be able to run these big tires. Now the chainstay yoke is also beefier and stiffer and burlier. So when you're putting down power, you're going to get less flex here. Now we're going to have even better power delivery. But we didn't want the rear end to be overly stiff. And so one small thing is this seat stay bridge has been moved down ever so slightly and not welded to the seat tube. That gives it a less rigid attachment point here and lets the rear end flex a little bit more. We went with super thin, super small seat stays to get that awesome ride compliance. Another cool thing they've done to make your life easier is they pre-routed your dropper cable. This was my least favorite thing about this bike on V1. It's really hard to route the dropper, but once it's routed or once you get your string through, it's no big deal, but it's quite frustrating doing it yourself. So Binary's already done this for you. So don't pull these out till you're ready to fish your dropper in through there. One small little thing that makes the build so much easier. Binary also kicked up a notch. The laser engraving on here, the weld finish, just the overall fit and finish, which I thought was perfect before. They tell me is even crisper here. I can see it on the logos here. They just leveled up just a little bit more. And I am so thrilled with all these little changes. It's not a new model. That's why it's not the 2.0. It's very much the same as the version 1 with slight improvements. I am so thrilled about the tire clearance. I'm really excited to run this thing as a plus mullet as an experiment. And I'm going to be running it as a 29 plus, as a regular 29. We've still got a very slack head angle. We still have a super short seat tube for a long dropper, great standover clearance. I've still got these rack mounts here. I'm trying to find the right company. I think I have a lead on someone that will build us a bike packing rack that just bolts on there so you can just bolt it on and take it off. I love racks when I'm bike packing, and it's my favorite way to carry stuff, way better than a seat tube bag. Plus the seat tube bag, you can't use your dropper on something like this because the seat comes all the way down to here and your bag's in the tire. So by running a rack, I can still use my dropper all I want and still haul my stuff all over. We've still got the 3-pack down here, 3-pack in here, and the 2 inside of there, so you can carry a ton of stuff. Fully external cable routing, except the dropper that goes in here. I required that because I build bikes and tear stuff down and experiment and swap this and that, and having external is just simpler. It's easy to do, and I think it actually looks a little bit better than all the internal. Now everyone's different, but for me, what makes a hardtail so special, besides the way that it rides, is the simplicity and utilitarian nature of it. So for me, having external cables was a no-brainer, and I always like running them underneath the top tube. When I run them down here, they pinch on tailgate pads, and when I run them in here, it's kind of a pain fighting for that water bottle space. So I always prefer running them up here. Now this bike was meant to be shreddy. It's meant to do trialsy stuff. It's meant to move up big ledge moves like we have in Sedona. But not everybody buying this is riding it on black diamonds and double black diamonds. A lot of people will get one and be like, whoa, like I really want everything this bike has, but I don't need it so slack because I'm riding it on more blue and green trails. Well, to fix that, I'd run a +2 degree works angle set. I've done that on my other Maniac. I've got 2 Maniacs, and one is a +2. To bring it to something like 66.5 head angle to tighten up the steering and make it a little bit zippier on flatter terrain. So even though this thing is built for slack and rowdy, it's still super light. And with that angle set, you can kind of get 2 bikes in one and get this thing to be a wonderful green and blue bike. I've ridden over 100 modern hardtails, and this one's my favorite, and it just got better with version 1.5. I am so proud to have the Hardtail Party name on this thing. I'm so proud to be associated with Binary. They're a fantastic company building fantastic things. Anytime you buy a Maniac, as the designer, I make a small commission, and I feel it's honest to tell you that. Despite that, this is still my favorite hardtail. Now, this isn't the perfect hardtail for everybody, and if you want to pick my brain on the recommendations that I have for you, I do that over on Patreon, and I would love to help you over there. I work with tons of people, consulting with them, and giving them a list of 5 to 10 bikes that fit their budget, their riding style, their terrain. And to me, it doesn't matter which bike they get. I just want them getting on the right bike. I also help people with used bikes in that consultation process. You know, some people might have a $3,000 budget, but they want something really special. Well, we can find it on the used market. And a lot of my clients don't have years of industry experience that I do looking at components and catching all the little things on used bike classifieds. So even if you're buying used, this could be a really great service for you. Once you sign up for the service, we'll communicate back and forth, and then you can send me links of bikes that you're interested in, and I can look it over and tell you if I think it's a good deal, or if it would be great if the fork wasn't so worn out. I can see the seals are leaking. It's going to need to be redone. Are you ready for that? And it's been a really great service to be able to help a lot of people steer clear of some disastrous bike purchases that they were about to do. I live to educate people and to help people learn more about this wonderful sport. I also have an online bike geometry, bike design course to learn about how changing these different geometry measurements changes your weight distribution and how the bike handles and how it responds and what its attitude is. So if you're in the market for a new bike and you're overwhelmed by all these geometry charts, or you think, oh, they all look pretty much the same, all modern bikes kind of have the same geometry. They don't. Changing a few millimeters here and a few millimeters there really changes the bike. It really does, and everybody can feel that. So if you want to become savvy on that and take this knowledge with you for the rest of your bike purchases, you should check out that course. I've got a link for it in the description below. As always, thank you guys for the support. Thanks for sticking in there through this tough time while I've been battling my illness. I'm excited to start getting healthier and to be able to bring you more riding videos on this channel. I'm so thrilled. So thanks for sticking it out when I haven't been very consistent on videos while I've been dealing with my health, and thanks for understanding, and thanks for being awesome. You guys are absolutely incredible. As always, there's a party in the mountains, and you're invited.